Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mad Monk Podcast with Chris and Aaron.
A name we just came up
we
with.
just invented this
Literally not even that, like 30 seconds ago.
30 seconds ago. It was awesome. It was epic, y'all. Thank y'all for listening to our podcast, and this is our first episode. My name is Chris.
My name is Aaron.
And we are glad to have you here. We hope that you enjoy this, and we hope that you learn something from our history, because our first episode is going to be our history and
Right.
of our faith and where we come from and all of that kind of stuff. Thank y'all for listening. Let's go. Okay, Aaron, we'll talk to you about your there we go. Let's go right into
I
it.
was drinking my Grape Crush. No sponsorship available.
He was.
If Grape Crush wanted to sponsor us, that'd be great.
Crush is pretty good.
It is. I like grape. It's
Yep.
one of my old standbys.
Oh yeah.
So, So I started my Christian journey at like 3 years old. I have a faint memory of either being like sitting down with someone and accepting Christ into my heart,
Yep.
or if I'm doing an altar call or something. There's a distinct memory in my head of that, something of when I was young in that age,
Yep.
of accepting Christ.
Yep.
And so we started, and I don't know where we went to church before. And actually, I wasn't 3 years old in Beaverton. That would have been, so Beaverton Foursquare Church was our first big church that I remember going to.
Yep.
I don't remember the churches we went to in Montana where I was born. At 5 years old, we moved to Portland, Oregon with my brother,
Oh darn.
who had been born just earlier in Montana. And so my memories of Beaverton Foursquare, I haven't done any research into see how they're doing these days, but Beaverton
Yep.
Foursquare was one of the mega churches, if you were to call it a
Yep,
mega church.
yep.
Before there were mega churches, Beaverton Foursquare was
It
a
was a
large
mega church.
community church.
Yep. Gotcha.
And the Foursquare denomination, and I had to actually do this research. And I was talking to somebody last week about that because a new person is coming to Fort Morgan, and I'm kind of helping them out.
Yep.
And were like, oh well, what are the churches, in the area? And so I was like, well, that's an interesting story. I guess we'll start with the basics. So Foursquare, people are like, oh, what does the Foursquare mean? Well, here's the thing, I didn't know for the longest time.
Yeah.
Literally until like last week,
Yeah.
when she was like, well, what does the Foursquare mean? And I was like, I don't know. I was a member of it for a long time. So here is from the actual Foursquare website, foursquare.org. What does Foursquare mean? Our name reflects the unchanging ministry of Jesus Christ and
Yep.
our mission to declare it worldwide. The four squares, it's not like Foursquare at recess.
Yep.
The four squares represent the four scriptural roles of Jesus as
Oh,
Savior, Baptizer, with the Holy Spirit, Healer, and soon coming King.
there you go.
So they've,
Okay.
and again, denominations do this. They will segment out their belief systems, what we
True.
believe,
Yep.
and it ends up saying pretty much the same thing across all borders with some key differences,
There's some
especially with the
differences.
Foursquare. But
Yep.
and churches do this. They come up with their mission, their beliefs. We
Yep.
subscribe to this Bible.
Yep.
They all do it. And Foursquare is no exception.
Yep.
Here's the thing about Foursquare churches, at least my experience in two of them so far in my lifetime. They're charismatic, and when I say charismatic, it's important to define because it's a big umbrella.
It is a
right?
big umbrella. Yeah.
So charismatic, what people might be familiar with charismatic churches is if you see people worshiping, their hands go up.
Yep.
It's a one
Yep.
hand. Like when you see two hands going up, oh boy, you're in
raising
it.
the
Like
roof.
there's something going on. Like people are really interacting.
Yeah.
There's also this is all. Different denominations do charismatic stuff differently, but
They
certain
do.
people put their hands up, or put both hands up, or they'll put one hand out in supplication,
Yep.
or they'll put two hands out in supplication as they're singing or worshiping,
It's true.
or
Yep.
praying, or whatever.
Yep.
There is any number of posturing that you do.
There's millions of
There's
ways,
across
so
all
many
denominations,
ways.
and some denominations they'll do like that. They are charismatic to a point.
Yep.
So up until what I mentioned so far, some people out there might be going like, oh, we do that in our church. Like I see a couple of raised hands, like that happens. Okay,
Yeah.
great. This is where things start to change, and where people will be like, wait, what? The church I was a part of in Denver
Yep.
as a kid, and we left when I was in, I want to say middle school, was leaned heavily into charismatic.
Yep.
Like there were during worship services, hands were up. A lot of hands in the sanctuary. Two hands.
Oh yeah.
Like there was some. It wasn't any like dancing, but there was significant motion happening.
Oh
and
yeah.
sometimes for folks, that's too much. Oh, you're You got people dancing to the worship music in the sanctuary. That's weird.
You can't do that.
You can't do that. That's crossing the line.
Yep.
So they would do that. There was in the main service, sometimes if people I was standing nearby, I would hear them speaking in tongues. Now, this is where it gets kind of challenging to talk about, because there are a lot of schools of thought about the speaking in tongues thing.
There is, yep.
And I'm not here to say one's right or one's wrong. It's not my job. I'm not an educated theologian from a seminary.
Yep.
I didn't get my MA or my doctorate in theological studies. You know, I have my understanding in my life of being a Christian to kind of draw that comparison.
There you go.
And to understand what I know.
Yep.
So that would happen in main church sometimes, and you would
Yep.
hear it, and I was like, okay, whatever. So they were very charismatic. They believed in healing at times, like laying hands on somebody.
Yep.
And then I've been a part of more like moderate churches and even conservative churches where when we're praying over a missionary, we're praying over someone in the morning.
Exactly.
We will put hands on.
Yep.
We'll all put hands on somebody and put hands. And so that symbolism of the hand is expressing the power of the whatever as a symbolistic thing. I don't believe that you need to have your hands on somebody for prayer to work, but that's what
I don't either.
Yeah, but that's a practice that some churches do.
They do.
And so that was happening in my church in Denver. There was a moment, so they would have summer camp every year. We would go to church camp, and that was just a thing. It was awesome. It was great. It was Camp Wonderview. It still exists. I don't know if the Foursquare Church still uses it or what it's become, but it's still a Christian church of some kind. Camp Wonderview was a lot of fun. Like it's what you would imagine as summer church camp. Big old tent, tin, metal like structures where we were all in bunks. This is the age of you just were all in bunks. There was no cabins. That wasn't a thing. It was just these big old things. The best part is that when the storms rolled in and the lightning started crashing, we couldn't stay in those big metal structures because that's not a good idea. And we didn't understand that as kids. And they're just like, oh, yeah, no, we can't do that. I'm sure they've changed the accommodations, hopefully. If after 23 years they haven't figured that out, that's on them. Actually, it was more than 23 years. It's been like 25 years because it was the late 90s. That was
the best time in history.
Oh my gosh, good old 90s.
Yeah, they were.
Anyway, this was also in the midst of what some would call the conservative coalition.
Oh, got you.
Of the Pat Robertsons, and a lot of people were kind of stretching their political muscle.
The Bakers.
I don't. They were before that, but we're talking like Pat Robertson, CBN.
Oh yeah.
Focus on the Family.
Oh yeah.
Those kind of guys were really starting to kind of make some noise about the situation in the world that they felt needed to be addressed. And often that rhetoric was about the fight for against sin, the fight against the bad, like all of these things. And so two things were significant in my time at that church. The first one was we went to I don't even know what it was. It was like an event, a weekend retreat. Where it was like almost like a boot camp kind of environment. The leader who was doing a lot of the talking was dressed in like fatigues and had like a beret on, and he was talking. And again, it's been a long time, but I remember distinctly him saying that we were the one true religion, we were the one true faith. And that he was a declared enemy of the Pope. Like he had been declared an enemy of the Pope, and he was proud to be that whole, it was, and for me, even like at that age, I was pretty gullible. Like I wasn't really critically thinking because your brain's not, but even me at that point was like, what? Why are you the declared enemy of the Pope? Like what is going on here? And so that was the part that kind of unsettled me. I was like, because I had friends who were Catholics, and I knew enough about the Catholic religion to be like, I don't know how true this is. And the second one, I don't know if it came before or after that event, but we had a summer camp one year, and so there was a lot of during like the Billy Graham time where like they were talking a lot about like, hey, we're gonna have a revolution, we're gonna have an awakening, it's gonna be, we are expectant that God's going to speak and move, and so there was a lot of that, and the danger in that is that if you are kind of building yourself up to, we're gonna have a moment, this is gonna happen, you're gonna find a way to make it happen. Like it's not going to actually happen because God moved. It's going to happen
Because y'all
because
forced it.
You forced it, or you moved,
Yeah.
or you made it seem like it was happening.
Yep.
And it was a very weird and unique time, I think. And people who were alive during this time in the late 90s,
Mhm.
mid 90s to late 90s,
Yep.
because by the time I graduated high school, we had moved churches and I was in a different place.
Darn.
But there was this almost like DC Talk was on mainstream radio. Jesus Freak was playing on mainstream radio.
DC Talk.
DC
Darn.
Talk was making inroads into actual like normal terrestrial radio. And so that was a very interesting dynamic because people felt like, oh man, like Christian music was experiencing almost like a rebirth. Like you had DC Talk, Audio Adrenaline, Newsboys, all these
Audio
bands,
Adrenaline.
like Supertones, Five Iron Frenzy,
Oh, darn.
MXPX, all this like just explosion beyond the Stephen Curtis Chapmans.
Yeah.
And no shame on Stephen Curtis Chapman, fantastic artist, incredible singer.
Yeah.
And he has whatever. But for the young folks, for us, the youth, we were looking for different music. We weren't looking for the hymns or the Stephen Curtis Chapmans.
Yep.
You know, it was good. Like I enjoyed listening to it ish.
Yep.
But all of a sudden, if I had the Newsboys talking
Oh,
about
we're going there.
like that, I'm
Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to that. So
Exactly right. Yep.
Jars of Clay was also in that mix.
Oh, they're good.
And so, but that was where they started. That's where it all
Yep.
came. And so
Yep.
suddenly Christians felt like, hey, we've got an identity. We've got people are listening to us. We need to move. We need to make this. We need to make the most of it. And it felt, and this again is just an opinion perspective on my side of things.
Yep.
People are going to disagree with me, but it felt like suddenly Christians were like, okay, we're gonna do it. We're taking the world. We're gonna go do this. We're storming the gates. And the danger with that rhetoric is you end up creating an adversarial relationship with the world, and you say, well, we're right and they're wrong. And biblically,
that's good.
Biblically, judging isn't our job.
Mm-mm.
We're not in charge of judging the world because there's a lot of verses, but the verse about, hey, if I find a speck in your eye, I got a wood plank in mine.
Yeah.
But it doesn't tell us not to, like, if someone asks us, do you believe this is a sin? Be like, yeah, it is. But it's not my job to judge you. It's my job to say, if you ask me, no, and then love you and try and help you. Hey, like, I got a guy named Jesus, and maybe this will help you. But if you don't want it, then awesome. Let's go on our merry way. And I think the danger, what came out of that mid 90s, late 90s into the 2000s, is that became this antagonistic relationship with mainstream Christianity.
Like a war.
Yeah, and it was sold that way in a lot of different in
yeah.
smaller segments and communities. We're at war with the world. We're at war with the world. We need to fight the world. We need to God is calling us to battle. God is calling us to stand up for Christ. And if you were naive and gullible enough to believe that, oh yeah, we're just talking about that. But here's the thing: you sell that long enough, you say it long enough, you start to believe that the enemy is the world. And why, man? I have friends who listen to music that's inappropriate. Man, they worship at the altar of Britney Spears. They're sinners. I can't be friends with them. So I forgot a third instance. So before I get to the one
good.
at the camp. So a lot of churches in the mid 90s, late 90s would hold music burning parties.
Yep.
Where you would bring CDs that if you were listening to secular music, you bring that music to a night bonfire and tossed your bad secular CDs into the fire and burned them. Which, if you take a step back and look at it now as me as a 41-year-old,
yeah.
Wholly inappropriate, because it harkened, and again, the people who were leading it probably didn't think this far down the road.
They probably didn't know
about how you're burning stuff. But it was definitely reminiscent of book burnings and the Nazis book burning. And so
that's
yeah.
good.
So
that's
now it's like, whoa, wait a
okay.
second. But they weren't thinking that far along. They were so caught up in the fervor of, we need to save our kids. Our kids need to be listening to the right music, because they're, like I said, you had all these incredible Christian music artists who were really kicking it and doing amazing music, and kids were going to concerts. DC Talk plays. Like, I went to Newsboys and Supertones at Red Rocks at one point in my life. I don't remember what year it was, but the Newsboys and Supertones played at Red Rocks.
Oh my goodness.
That's how big it was. And you had big people with thousands upon thousands. They would fill concert venues. And this was also at the time where Phil McCartney at CSU was doing Promise Keepers. And so that was a big thing there, where all of a sudden men were being given being told, oh my gosh, you can be a good man. You can follow Christ in your family and help your family follow so all of that is a perfect storm. So yeah, so you want to hear the funniest part? I didn't own any secular music at the time of that burning situation, so I didn't want to be left out, right? I was like, I don't want to. I want to have something to burn. So I literally went to my parents and was like, "Is there any, like, can I look through the records to find something to burn?"
I don't want to be left out.
And so, do you want to know what I brought to that burning?
What did you bring out?
The record soundtrack to Dr. Zhivago. It was looking back on that, and even at the time, I was like, "This is
ridiculous."
But I didn't. If I showed up without anything to burn,
yeah.
well, then clearly you're not following. You're not listening. You need to look to yourself. If you don't have a record to burn, and I think they brought magazines, like bad magazines, like if you were reading Teen Beat or some such nonsense or whatever, you could bring that. But I listened to oldies and I listened to Christian music in my house.
That's what I did too.
That wasn't like my parents didn't force it on me, but I enjoyed listening to Cool 105 back when it was Cool 105 and it was actual oldies.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed, jamming to my Christian music because that was a big part of my identity. I was following Christ. Yep. So the third thing that really kind of put the Foursquare situation experience for me in a bad place. So we went to the camp, and like I said, there's a danger with charismatic churches and local charismatic churches that just they go whole hog into the healings, speaking in tongues, the getting slayed in the spirit, quote unquote. If you've ever seen Benny Hinn when he's on, and I don't think he's around anymore, but you would watch his show on like CGN or CN, whatever, and he'd be like, "And I want to lay my hands," and that person would just lose it and fall over,
start going into convulsions,
and he'd be like, "I healed you," and they'd be like, "I'm healed," and it was just like, oh my God. But it was like that was the darker corners of this Christian movement that was happening.
I think it's a mockery
in the mid-90s. Well, we didn't
personally.
I thought it was weird.
It's weird, yeah.
And so we went to camp. The last year we went to camp.
Yeah.
And we were a I want to say we were a motley bunch because that's mean. But the group, the friends and people that went up to camp, there was an unusual energy in that group of people who really wanted to experience God.
I see.
And wanted that moment and wanted to, like, they had been fed this line that the church is going to move, the church is going to happen, the church is expectant, we're expecting great things. And the danger, if you say that, is that you have now an unconscious, or at certain points conscious, need to fulfill what has been preached.
That's a good point.
Because if it doesn't get fulfilled, then the joke's on the pastor, and the church is a joke, and we're a joke, and everyone's a joke because we did nothing. And then you start going, well, we just didn't pray hard enough, or we didn't tithe hard enough, or we didn't do our missions.
I've actually seen that before. Yeah.
And it's really uncomfortable because you're just like, no, it's nothing. Like, yeah, if your church dissolves in 3 weeks and your property gets seized and it's a scorched earth policy, there might be a sign being sent to you that you need to get out of ministry. Like, okay, there's certain things, okay, God might be saying, you know what, you're done, son, get out. But generally, and this is again a personal perspective, it doesn't work that way, because if you're following Christ, if you're following his teachings, there's a natural bend to the world that people will come and be a part of your community because you're preaching the truth. Now, the other flip side is true, is that if you preach like Joel Osteen's like prosperity gospel, people will come because they're going to be told that they just need to give money and they'll get rich and they'll have prosperity and everything will be great, which is the darker side of the whole, like, well, we have people, but you're selling them snake oil. You're a snake oil salesman, Joel Osteen, and I don't care who hears it. Like, I will repeat that. I will repeat that. Me and Joel Osteen, man, never met the man, but every time I get talking about him, I just lose it because I'm just like this. And it's been going on for years.
It's annoying,
years and years of this. And people still buy it, but a lot of people have turned away from him because they figured out that the prosperity gospel, it's not the way. So my point of this is that if you're living your life and running your church as close to Christ's mission and Christ, what would Jesus do kind of thing, you're probably going to be okay. Your church is going to function. But there's again that idea, because if you start to tell God what he's going to do, he's not going to do it. That
ain't the way it works.
You don't tell God what to do. You don't tell that man or that being.
He's the teller.
He's the one. He's the one who's going to be like, move, and you're like, okay. So there was a lot of that swirling around our church of there is something coming. And a lot of churches will do this, like, Christ is coming back soon. You don't know when he's coming back.
He said you don't know.
You won't know. You won't know the day or the time. Like, get over yourself.
He
Stop
said-
trying that. But churches still do it. And
They
so
still.
the church, this church, it felt like they were saying, we are awaiting Christ's return. We're working for
Yeah.
the Christ. Like,
Yeah.
and the danger is like, oh, we're not really saying he's coming back. He's like, yeah, but you know what you're doing with your rhetoric is you're basically saying it's going to happen and it's coming soon, and we should be like ready for it. And yes, you should be ready for it, but also if you're getting ready for it, you're going to start to do things that you normally wouldn't do, and you're going to start to set up this idea that Christ is coming back, and we're the ones he's coming back for. We're the ones they're going to be there for. And it's like, no, you don't get to claim exclusionary. There's no exclusionary clause in the Bible for a certain church doing the right things. It's all or nothing, baby. Christ comes back for everybody and judges everybody, and we deal with it from there. So there was a lot of that.
Valid point.
There was a
Valid
lot of that going on in that time in our group. They were like, he's coming back. Jesus is coming. We got to be ready. Be ready, Lord Jesus. Be ready, Lord Jesus. And so one of the nights, the leader, I don't think he was one of ours. I think we were there with a bunch of other churches. And the leader was like, if you want to be given the gifts of speaking in tongues, you may come forward. We will pray for you, and we will anoint you with that power and that gift. Okay, I'm going to pause that conversation for a second. First of all, you laugh because, yeah, it's just nuts to think about that now.
That's nonsense.
Here's the thing about speaking in tongues, is it is not just something you just flick on. And a lot of people, and I'm particularly, so I use this statement of where I sit and where I stand. So when I say where I stand, I believe it wholeheartedly. I'm not debating it. This is what I'm doing. I'm standing on this rock.
Yeah.
When I say I'm sitting, I'm still thinking.
Yeah.
I haven't quite made up my mind, and I'm still working to figure this out.
Yep.
I still am sitting on the speaking in tongues conversation. 23 plus years, 25 years after this
Oh my
happened,
goodness.
still sitting in it. But what I do know, and what I would probably like sit up a little bit and maybe stand on my hunch on, would be that
Yeah.
speaking in tongues is not a permanent gifting.
Hmm.
And I don't, because I don't.
That's an interesting thought.
I don't
Sure.
think, because I don't think, because what if it's permanent? Well, now there are people going to come to you for it.
It's true.
They're going to come to you seeking your speaking in tongues gift. And
They
I
will.
don't feel, again, like that's how God works. Now,
It
again,
isn't.
I could be wrong, and I have been wrong theologically in my own share.
Me too.
But when it comes to this, because you look at what happened in at the first not the first Passover, at when the tongues of fire were above everyone's
the
head.
cloven tongue, yeah.
in I think it's Romans.
Acts.
Acts, sorry.
Yeah, it was in Acts.
I get the two. They're two great books, but
They're both good.
they're both
Yeah,
great.
they
But
are.
it was the church, the Acts church. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but the speaking in tongues thing that happened in that moment was temporary. It didn't stay that way.
It didn't.
It was temporary.
Yeah.
And so
That's a good point,
what
too.
I believe
Sure.
is that those spiritual moments, those gifts, whatever we call them, speaking in tongues,
Mm-hmm.
proselytizing, being able to predict the future, whatever, those are not permanent giftings. Those are not something that you just have forever. It's something
my
that God
goodness.
says, oh, hey, I need you in this moment to be able to do this. Boom, that's
Here
happening.
it is. Yeah.
But the speaking in tongues thing
Man,
also requires discernment. Someone's got to interpret. Someone's got to
the
be able to-
Bible requires that.
It does. and
say
It's a
that.
huge part. And so someone's got to be there to interpret. Someone's got to be there to verify.
Yeah.
Is this gibberish? Is this truly the word of God that is coming out of this person's mouth? There have been cases that I have either experienced or been told of by trusted people that I entrust when it comes to faith, where they said, no, what they were saying was, number one, was gibberish. No one could translate it. It was no known language, which tells you something.
Yeah.
Number two, they were like, well, we translated it and it wasn't God. There was not a God element in those words. That was
Oh.
definitely a darker thing that they touched. And that's what unsettles me the most.
That's
When I hear
unsettling.
that story, I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to play with that. And so speaking in tongues is definitely a thing. It exists. It happens.
does. Yep.
It's a thing. However, you have to be very mindful of how much you lean into that, because it can be very easily manipulated, misinterpreted, and
Ooh.
abused.
Oh, y'all
when it-
listening to this?
When you talk about Christian, so like it's not like you're a history teacher and you've interpreted an event differently.
Yep.
Like, oh well, this event where this man said this, his word. No, this you don't get to misinterpret God. He's not to be misinterpreted.
That's right.
His word is pretty much there. It is. You don't get to be like, well, I think that God meant this. You don't get. I mean,
You
yeah,
don't-
you have. But here's the thing: you have people who do commentaries, right?
Yep.
But they are so well researched. They are pulling up records. They are pulling
That's
up
right.
scripts. They are pulling
Yep.
up archaeological. Like they come to these conclusions with, like, a lot of research.
They do.
And even then, they're always like, I want to make sure I don't.
You don't want
wanna
to
screw
jack
this
it up. Yeah.
And so, when it comes to the speaking in tongues or the prophecy, because
Yeah.
there is a gift of prophecy,
Yeah.
you have to be mindful that 95% of the time, and that's a big number, I know, I don't trust it. And a reason
I would
why,
say that's accurate.
but
Yeah.
because if you go to kick the tires on the church website, or you start to kind of dig into what's going on or what's being said,
Yeah.
you're like, I don't know.
little
Your
shady.
mission statement doesn't really work really well. I'm not sure about this. This is weird.
Yeah.
So anyway, so they said, hey,
Darn.
come forth, and if you want to come forth, be prayed over, you'll be given the gifts of tongues. So, okay. So all my friends are going up, and they're like getting prayed on there, blah, 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 and some of them are like falling on the floor, others are blah, 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 they're speaking tongues, and like right after they're prayed, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, as a lot of my friends are going up there, I'm like, I need to go up there. Now I didn't want it. I had no need for it. It's like, it's weird. I don't really want that.
Yeah.
But because all of my fellow friends at my church were going up and having this experience,
Darn.
little 13, 12-year-old me
Mm-hmm.
is like, well, I got to go up. If I don't go up, what are they going to say about me? Because this was also, I was in middle school at this point, and I was being bullied in middle school. And so I had, on top of that, I had my middle school bullying experience where people were judging me as it was about how I dressed, looked, whatever. And so I'm just like, well, if I can control some element of my bullying experience, I'm gonna control.
I'm gonna do it. Yeah.
I'm gonna avoid getting picked on and bullied by my church friends that I didn't. Oh, you didn't go up and get prayed on to get the word of the.
You're already getting bullied enough.
Right. I've got enough of it on one front, and reality of it is, if I hadn't gone up, I don't think they would have.
They wouldn't have.
But that's 41-year-old Aaron. That's not 12 or 13-year-old Aaron.
No.
12 or 13-year-old Aaron, his world is tiny.
That's a different Aaron. That's for sure.
Yeah, a very different Aaron. And
Yeah.
God love that 13-year-old, 12-year-old Aaron.
No
I don't
kidding.
want to go back to that.
No, me neither. Nope.
I look back on that and I go, oh, I was such a little nerd. Such a little nerd.
I was an idiot back then.
Well, and I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
And I was trying. I didn't want to be like everybody else. I didn't want to.
That's how I was.
I was a Christian, and Christians aren't supposed to be like everybody else. And so I was trying to find. It was a mess.
See, for me, I was the opposite.
Yeah.
I wanted to be normal,
Yeah.
but I wasn't.
Right.
So I tried. I'm like, well, how do I become normal?
Right.
But I'm a Christian. How do I become normal?
Right.
When I found out later, you're a Christian. You're not normal like everybody else.
You're set apart.
That's a good thing.
Agreed. So I go up, and it's a long walk to the front,
Mm-hmm.
and there's like, I don't know, it felt like 7 or 10 people at each station for praying.
Yep.
So I'm like, and I was terrified. I was scared. I was like, okay, what's gonna happen? Am I gonna lose my mind? Am I gonna black out when I get slain in the spirit?
fall
What's gonna
over?
happen? Yeah, am I gonna fall over? But I was like, the overriding pure pressure
Yep.
pushed me forward.
man,
And so it sucked. It was like, I wish I could go back to that day and just talk to someone and be like, don't do this to these kids. Just don't. These kids don't know what they're doing. They don't know who they are. You are putting a lot of theological weight that they can't even have any hope of discerning what they
At
think.
their age.
Right. There's
No,
no
they
way.
can't.
You are taking heavyweight, like a Muhammad Ali level of like boxing situations,
Yeah.
and you are tossing that to a peewee. There's no way. They're going to collapse under the weight, and they're not going to know what they're doing.
That's a good point.
So I go up and I get on the hands are prayed over me, and they pray, blah, 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 and some of them are speaking in tongues. Oh, I pray for Aaron to be received. And then they say amen. And nothing happens. And I remember this as clear as day. And I know memory is troublesome, and it could have happened in another way. But what I remember, and I very much want to make that clear, what I remember is nothing happened. I looked up and I said, okay, thanks, and walked back to my seat. Now, here's what happens on the other side of that. So I didn't get the gift.
Yeah.
I didn't feel anything. I didn't get slain in the spirit.
Yeah.
Nothing that happened to my friends or the people in my youth group happens.
Darn.
What's wrong with me?
Oh no.
What did I do wrong?
Oh,
What's
no.
wrong with my heart? Why didn't God give me this gift? Where did I screw up? And was I worthy enough, or wasn't worthy enough? Or all of those questions that no 12 and 13-year-old child
should
have to ask about themselves when it comes to
that.
their faith and their Christian faith with Jesus.
Yeah.
And I don't remember how long I sat in that. I never told my parents until we were long gone from that church and years later, where I said, hey, do you guys know this happened? And they were shocked. they were furious. They're like, that happened? And I was like, yeah. And I said, I was so embarrassed. I'm going to tell you. And they're like, we are so sorry we held you on that long. Because the reason why they left the church, I can't remember the reasons, but they were valid. Sitting down with them years later and talking to them about it, they're like, yeah, here's what I was like, holy crap, yeah, get me out of here. Like, why'd you stay?
Bye.
And the reason why they think they tried to stay is because it was a place where I was in youth group and I was loving it. I had some great friends. I had a great pastor. We did summer activities. When I talk about middle school bullying, my middle school youth group, or my late elementary youth group at that Foursquare church saved me. If it hadn't been for them, I wouldn't have made it. And I'm being honest and visceral and pretty transparent here. Because suicide was a possibility in my head at that time of my life. I considered, I thought out how I would do it at a certain point. I remember that piece. But crazy. I kept coming back to my youth group because I enjoyed the pastor. I enjoyed the community. I enjoyed the people. I had a place to belong to, right?
Gracious.
So even in its dysfunction and its issues, it was still a place that I needed. Now, do I blame them for the charismatic pieces that had an effect? Absolutely. And without question, I do. It makes me really, 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 really cranky because that should never have been done to a child.
Yeah.
And I was a child. I was not a grown 16, 17-year-old developing into a person. Like, I was middle schooler, if that.
Yeah.
And so all of that experience, we left the church. We went to non-denominational church.
Yep.
It's called interdenominational or non-denominational. It's called Colorado Community Church. Yep. And it was night and day.
Oh, darn.
Like, it was like there was no charismatic healings. It was, we're going to worship and we're going to hang out and we're going to learn, and we've got really detailed lessons and we're taking on and we're doing stuff. Hey, do you want to volunteer with kids? So that's where I started working with kids.
Oh, got you. Okay.
And I started serving in the 5th grade. I started in tots and toddlers, and then they moved me up to 5th grade. And it just, the rest is history there. I for the, like, up until like 2000, whenever I went back to school to become a teacher, I was involved in some capacity in the churches that I've been a part of in children's ministry and student ministry. And so that started there.
Darn.
So we went to that church. It was a night and day. It was an incredible church. I had incredible mentors, people who were genuinely interested in me. So that was great. I had great churches. I went to Colorado Community Church, went to Grace Chapel.
Yep.
I went to a whole bunch of churches in the Denver area. Red Rocks was a church we went to for a bit. A lot of the mega churches, whatever.
Yep.
So in 2018, we moved up here to Fort Morgan. And we had to go church shopping.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if you've ever been church shopping. It's an experience.
It's hard.
And so we tried a couple of churches. We tried, there's a church out here that's Seventh-day Adventist. That was not a fun experience.
Thank you.
They anoint things with oil, and that harkened back to my Foursquare experience. I was like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
We tried out a couple other churches, but they were so small that we were like fresh blood. Like, it was like, oh my gosh, stay with us, please don't leave us.
But
yeah. Whoa! And you're just like, whoa.
Here we are.
So we then ended up at a Foursquare church, at the local Foursquare church. And everything was fine. I was nervous, but my wife was like, hey, we got to try it. I'm like, okay, we'll try it. I'll let go of my previous experience.
There you go.
I'm not going to forget it, but I'm going to move past it and we'll do this. And so it worked pretty well. I started doing sound for them. My wife started helping with worship.
Yep.
And it was great.
Yep.
There were moments of just like, I don't know if that's theologically sound. Like the preaching was never really like, woo! It was just kind of like, okay.
You see stuff like that.
Yeah, you're just kind of like, oh, we're not quite ready
easy.
to, like, oh, I don't know about this. So there came a Sunday where the teaching went off the rails, and it swerved directly into the old stuff I was used to. I won't go into details of what was preached because obviously the church is still there.
Yeah.
And if you go to a Foursquare church, I'm not naming or shaming you. Like, that's your choice. But my experience now, 2 churches has not been great. And so the teaching was very, to me, blatantly out of control. And my wife kind of warned me that morning because she had seen the notes because she was helping leading worship. She's like, I need you to take a look at this and listen to what he says because I'm kind of concerned about what's going to be said today. I was like, okay. And so the preacher preached, and I was just like, what in the heck?
What just happened?
So I love the Muppets, right? And there's a quote from Kermit. It's like a 3-second clip on YouTube, and it's fantastic. It's from the Muppet Show. And somebody comes up to him and says something. And because you can't curse on the Muppet Show, and I'm not going to curse on this podcast, Kermit's response to it is, the heck you say. So that's my response. The heck you say. So my response to that to that teaching was, the heck you say. And so me and my wife had a long conversation after church.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, I don't this is not, I'm not comfortable. I said, if you want to keep doing this, great. I'm not going to be here. I'm done. I'm out. That's it.
Oh, darn.
We got to make a move. And she had some thinking about it. She's like, you know what? You're right. That really doesn't, and she's a newer Christian than I am.
Yep.
She came to Christ in her college years.
Ah.
Whereas I've been a lifelong Christian. I've attended deep Bible studies, whatever, yada.
Yep.
So we let them know we're going to take a break. We need to step away a little bit.
Yep.
I think they figured out that we weren't going to come back, but it was just
Yep.
like, hey, we're setting a 30-day, or we set like a 3 weeks, like, hey, 3 weeks, in 3 weeks we're done. Find somebody else to run your soundboard. Vicky's not going to help you with worship anymore, whatever. And on the last Sunday, it may have been the last Sunday or the second to last Sunday, there was something happening behind in the back after church was over.
Mm-hmm.
There was prayer being given to a gentleman in a wheelchair.
Yep.
And this person had been ill for quite some time. This was not a random, like he didn't just lose their legs. It's been ongoing. They've had ongoing sicknesses. And it wasn't just their legs. There was illnesses beyond that.
Darn.
And they prayed for healing. And at the end of the prayer, they said amen. They said, hey, get up and walk. And so the gentleman
Oh, that's dangerous.
struggled to get up and then stumbled a few steps
Yeah.
and then had to go back to his chair. What was said was, you're witnessing a miracle. He's walking. He's walking. This is a miracle, y'all. This is a miracle. Again, discernment, interpretation,
Yeah.
and verification.
It's very important.
You got to do that. And
Yeah.
so I'm watching this and going, that's not a miracle.
No.
He was able to get up. He's probably been able to do that before. This was not I'm healed. Look at me. Jumping Jehoshaphat. I'm running. Woo. I'm dancing, tap dancing. The Benny Hinn. No, that wasn't the thing.
No. He
And
stumbled.
it was a shamble. And so, but there wasn't like, oh my gosh, we need to verify this.
Yeah.
We need to take, hey, let's get the pastor
him
team
to-
together. Let's compare. Let's make sure that like
Take him to the doctor.
take him to the doctor.
Yeah.
Like none of that. Oh, it's a miracle. Your witness. He is walking. He's walking. Like,
Oh.
and so and I don't know if it was unconscious in their heads or if it was just an unconscious part of them having been a part of this world for so long
Yep.
that, oh, it's a healing. They're healed. You're witnessing a miracle. He walked. Not, well, yes. And
Maybe
probably
we
God
sh-
helped him stand and there was some instrumental pieces in his faith there. But I was struggling to go, yeah, no, that wasn't a miracle of walking.
Yeah.
Either God shows up or he doesn't. And he doesn't show up halfway. There's never a
No,
half.
he doesn't.
There's not a half, oh, God kind of helped me walk. No, either God helped you walk or he didn't. Like,
It's a valid point.
because God is not a small God.
No, he's not.
God is he's the big one. He's the big one. He's the biggest guy on the block. He overrides everything. He is the all in all. Like,
Yeah.
you worship songs have been sung about this. God is bigger.
He is bigger.
Bigger.
That's
There's
God
no
is bigger.
comparison. He's not bigger than. He's bigger.
yeah.
And so it was just kind of that moment of like, okay, well, I'm glad we're going. So
Bye.
we left that church, and we ended up at the Methodist Church.
Yep.
And we've been there 2 years now, I think.
Oh darn.
And we have found the messaging to be competent. We have found the theology to be pretty on target. There's a couple of more,
There's
like
a couple things.
where
yeah.
you're just like, I don't know about that, but it's not like, oh my gosh, you're a heretic, you're a blaslamer. Get the church on the line. We need the holy water and the exorcist and and then we need to get the Pope
I
in
have
here.
to get the Pope on
You got
the
the Pope
line.
on this one. Pope's got to come in in an
Pope's exorcist.
Yeah,
Yeah, got to
yeah,
get here.
the Pope's exorcist. Yeah, that's someone we can call. We have on speed dial. So it was like everything was right again.
Yeah.
And we've been a part of that this church for now 2 years. I think it feels like 2 years. It could be a little shorter than that, but it's been affirming. It's been community.
Yeah.
They do ministry. They do that. They don't talk about the stuff that's pretty they don't talk about the stuff that's out there and requires, like, okay, well, we actually got to figure that out. It's a pretty standards. I mean, Methodists are. They're not.
Yep.
They're not they're not crazy. They're not going out and throwing Bibles at people, and they're just but
Nope.
they are consistent and they're slow but steady. And
Yep.
slow but steady wins the race.
That's exactly
And
right.
the first will be last, and the last will be first. We're not in it to win it.
Slow-
Here. We're not in here. We're not in it to cross the line and say we are good Christians. We're in it to be behind everybody and help get everyone there. Because in the race to heaven,
Turn.
in the race of life, if you're at the front, what are you doing? You're leading.
You're leaving everybody
Right,
behind.
you're leading, but you're leading. Who are you leading for?
Yeah.
Are you leading for yourself, or are you leading for your flag to say we made it, we first, or are you in the back, of the pack are in the middle, spread around, encouraging, helping, ministering.
That's a very good point.
And there
Man.
are churches out there who, they do some stupid stuff where it's
They
like,
do.
this is not Christ-like at all. What are you doing? This is not what Christ wants.
He is not telling
And
you to do that.
that WWJD came out of that early 90s, mid 90s, late
It
90s.
did.
It was
It
the
did.
WWG bracelets. It was a lot of
Everywhere.
that. Yeah, everywhere. It was always about what would
It
Jesus
was.
do. And I think it still stands up today. I think there's some things that people will use the WWGD as like a cudgel to beat people up. Well, you're not doing what Jesus said you're going to do. It's like, okay, buddy, when
Stop doing that.
are you a theologian? Are you a Christian? Have you applied all of Christ's teachings to your life? Because let me guarantee you, and this is a conversation for another time, the Christ's teachings, there's a lot of picking and choosing that happens in a lot of what we get from people like celebrities being like, well, the Christian church, they should be helping the sick and saving the poor. It's like, great. Do you know what the Christian church also talks about? It also talks about having all that money and not being in it for yourself and being selfish and putting yourself on a pedestal. Do you know what you're doing, Khloe Kardashian? You're doing just that. So get off your pedestal, sell all your belongings, abandon this whatever thing that you're
Lifestyle,
pursuing,
yeah.
and you come hang out with us in the Acts in the Rome church where we commune and we pull together.
That's
And
right.
but again, that's the thing about the Christ. What would Jesus do, and what would the Romans and Acts church do, and what would Paul do? What would Peter do? What would these dudes
Good
do?
point.
And the answer is, well, you probably know the answer, but you're uncomfortable with it, and you
wanna
don't want to do it.
Yeah, you don't want to do it.
And I mean, I am far from being perfect Christian. Like, I mess up several times a day. Like, we're imperfect humans.
Yeah.
But my goal is, in my faith with Christ, is at the end of the day, figuring out how to be better and how to seek his forgiveness, seek his mercy and grace,
Goodness.
start the day anew, and get back to ministering to people, working and encouraging people and helping people, and not doing it because it gets me a crown in heaven, because I don't want a crown. Give me like a hat. Give me a Jesus hat. Give me
Jesus
one
hat.
with a little silver sticker. I'm happy with that. Give me one of them. Give me one of them hood. They get one of them lids. Give me a lid. It's real stylish. I can wear around and be like, I'm cool. Cock it to the side. Be like, what's up? Like, I don't care about my that.
I don't
I
either.
care about, did I make a difference for Jesus?
That's right.
And did I impact the world for him? And in my interactions with everybody from start to finish, top to bottom, side to side, did everything I do reflect Christ? And if that was truly the way things worked in the Christian church and beyond, with those people who
my goodness.
tend to get mad at Christians, well, you're not doing it. It's like, great, but you don't want this because you're not a part of this, so you're just gonna sit there and criticize and throw rocks. There's a guy named
Ooh.
Stephen. They stoned him.
They did. And
And
look at what happened to him.
Right. He became the martyr. He became his
The very
like,
first one.
I mean, I freely admit that metaphor is very mixed of what I just kind of alluded to. So
But it was
forgive me.
good.
Forgive me. I was just because I get fired up about it. I'm just like, come on, y'all. To echo you say that. Come on, y'all. So my story is, I started in a church that was charismatic, and
Yeah.
I got out of that, and then I was and then I got back into it, and I found out the same stuff's still there at the core, and I was like, I
Darn.
can't do it. So I am always going to preach moderate. I'm never going to preach conservative or liberal when it comes to churches
Yeah.
and it comes to faith, because the danger of being conservative or liberal with your faith is you end up forgetting what sits in the middle. And to draw the metaphor closer, there's a verse of the Psalm. You are a lamp unto my feet.
Wow,
I will
right
follow
under
you
my
in all of my
path.
ways. Like the path is not in the ditch either side. The path is in the middle,
Yeah. It is.
and that's a moderate, focused, straightforward path.
It is.
And if your temptation is to go extreme on either side, you're going to end up trawling through mud, and eventually you're going to get buried. And
You're gonna fall in the ditch.
Yeah, you're going to have a hard time getting out of it
Yeah.
and back on the path of true
Oh,
righteousness.
it's a
And
fact.
I'm not saying that like I'm the true Christian and I know everything. I don't. But I know enough to know what's good
Yeah.
and what's gonna distract you. And I
Yeah.
know that in that center, that moderate, that middle of the road, that's where Christ lived. Christ didn't live on either side, because when he was on that road, he would see people in the ditch and he would go and get them out. The woman at the well,
That's a
go
good-
and sin no more.
that's a good
Get
point.
back on the path. Get back on here with me. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go to Christ. Let's go to heaven. Let's get on the right path. He would pull like the guys, the the guy I think it was Zacchaeus was blind or something. Zacchaeus, the tax collector, was in the tree.
Ah, yeah.
No, Zacchaeus was in the tree. He said, "Hey, come down from that tree. Come down and hang out with me in the middle of my path."
Yeah.
Like the healings that he did and the things that he did were built to pull people out of that muck and out of the ditch. And that's what would Jesus do? He'd pull you out of the ditch. He would tell you, don't go back into that ditch. Get on the path with me,
Yeah.
and let's continue on to my Father. Let's continue on. The guy on the thief on the cross.
Oh, yeah.
I have lived a terrible life. I've done bad things. You as I stay here today, you will be with me in heaven. I'm bringing you back to the path. I'm bringing you back to the center path with me.
Darn.
And so when and I guarantee you, if you look at any of his ministry in the Bible, we could dig into it at some point down the road.
Oh, yeah.
But everything that he did with people, it wasn't, well, you're done, or you're going back in the mud. It's, no, I'm pulling you out, and I want you to walk with me. I want you to be with me.
Darn.
I want you to be lockstep with me. Like, I want the disciples that followed him on that path.
Yeah.
And one of them deviated. Well, they got called out. I mean, Peter, when he denied the Christ 3 times, guess what happened the next time he ran into Christ? Christ said, "Hey, buddy, by the way, remember that those 3 times you denied me?"
Remember I told you it was going to happen?
So he's calling him out and saying, "Hey, get back on the path with me.
Yeah.
Get back to where you need to."
And he did.
And he did. But that's, and I think that's really hard for people to get, is that center path, it's the path of righteousness. It's the right path. It's not one side or the other. It's just a path of righteousness.
And it can be a hard one, too. It can be hard.
Yeah, it can be. I don't know if that message is applicable or if people will listen to it today. Because you
That's a
have
good point.
so many, the church scene is so crazy. It's so much different than it was in 2001.
Oh, it is, yeah.
And there's a lot of online churches. There's still the mega church issue is still there.
It's much bigger now.
Yeah, it's a lot
Much
larger. And Joel Osteen is still around for whatever reason.
I don't know why.
We haven't put him in solitary confinement at Guantanamo Bay. Sorry, that was extreme.
Whoa,
I apologize. I
darn.
did not actually. It was in my head. Like, if you've ever watched Jeff Dunham when he does his ventriloquist act,
yeah.
he'll say things and he's like, "I can't believe I just said that. I apologize to Joel Osteen. I did not actually mean that you deserve to be in Guantanamo Bay because you haven't committed high crimes against the United States. You have committed some crimes against Christ. So if there's a Guantanamo for Christians, you're going there, bud. Oh, right. That's purgatory. That's hell. Okay. Just so we're clear.
That was
We're clear.
That was so good. Oh, my
But it's,
goodness.
like, that's the truth. Like, right. Because I mean, I guarantee you, if Christ came down and sat down with Joel Osteen, he'd be like, "Come on, man.
Bro, we
got to talk. Like, you got to. There's got to be some radical
you
change.
jacked up, man.
You done messed up, Aaron, or done messed up.
You done did messed up.
You done
man.
messed up. So
Goodness gracious.
anyway, that's kind of my perspective. And I've been a part of mega
Interesting.
churches. I've been a part of smaller churches.
Yep.
I've been a part of small groups.
Yep.
I've been a part of home churches.
Man, you've been a part of
I've been
a
around.
lot
I've been
of
an
it.
intern. I've been an employee. I've been a volunteer. I've led small groups. I've led large groups. I've led worship. I have done it all. And I wouldn't change it because the churches I was a part of within that,
Yep.
they were difference makers for the kingdom. They weren't in it to be glorified.
Yep.
They were in it because they wanted Christ to be glorified,
That's right.
and they wanted to disciple kids. They wanted to disciple adults. They wanted to help draw them closer to Christ, because when you draw closer to Christ as a community, that allows you to continue to draw others in, but allows you to go out and do so much more
Yep.
for God, and do so much more for Jesus, and do so much more for Him
Yep.
and for the future.
Instead of for ourselves.
Yeah. All right, so that's my story. It's time for your story, I suppose.
That was incredible. Man, how am I
haven't-
supposed to follow that?
I haven't really talked about. The thing is, I haven't really talked about it. I haven't ever recorded myself talking about it. Like I've
That's
shared it
interesting.
with friends in pieces. But you're right. Looking back on that, it's a wild journey
It is, yeah.
Um,
That's pretty incredible.
to go from Foursquare charismatic to
Yep.
what I feel like is button down Methodist.
Oh, yeah, I can say that.
It's
yeah.
it's an interesting kind of. But having been a part of non-denominationals, interdenominationals,
Oh, yeah.
and others that I didn't mention, like, it's been a trip. But after 41 years of well, I'd say probably maybe 35 years maybe of being a
Oh,
Christian.
yeah,
We'll subtract some years out of that. I truly still believe in it. I truly still follow it. I
Darn.
believe Christ is in my life, and
I believe it too.
and I know a lot of people will be like, well, the reason why I don't believe in Christ is because of some of his followers. And it's like, well, have you seen our presidential situation lately? Have you looked at our president? Like,
I mean,
if you go through every single president,
I
not
mean-
recent. I'm not even going recent. I'm just saying overall because we don't want to get too political here today. But like, if you look at the last we've had 45, 46 now, 47,
47.
47.
I think.
If you look at all those presidents, those men were flawed. There are things
Hugely flawed.
George Washington to Jeff, like all those dudes.
JFK.
They were a hot mess, right?
Yeah.
They were broken human beings. And so if you're going to suggest that the Christianity people, that there's certain groups in the Christianity that have you turned off to following Christ or engaging with it or at least trying it or believing it, then if that's the case, you can't just apply that to Christianity. You got to apply it everywhere and start with the presidency and then start with the government and start with the Senate, start with the House, start with, like, if you really want to apply that schema, then you don't believe in anything.
Therefore, you're agnostic.
But then, and there's no hope for you both politically and religiously. So nihilism, welcome to Arby's.
There you go.
Eat Arby's.
And I mean, that's the thing, though, is like a lot of the people that I have met in my life,
Yeah.
they are one or the extreme or the other.
Yeah.
I have met both atheists,
Yeah.
who are hard atheists.
Right.
One of them sits right in there,
Yeah.
and he says, "I will never believe." Blah blah blah. I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, you will. Someday you will.
Yeah.
When
You'll
you-
make a choice.
when you grow some sense. You'll
Right.
you'll believe. But
Yeah.
so if you're ready for my story, that was an amazing story. My goodness, well explained. Holy moly!